kids. And the biggest thing that we want to give our kids is preparation and the right mindset. And in my opinion, man, we can't start this too early. And to be honest, I sucked at this. I sucked at this really, really badly for a long time. It wasn't until probably 7 years ago, I was like, I really need to get serious with this. I really need to teach these kids better. What would it look like to step up my game, to really teach these kids about investing, about how the market works, compound interest works, how interest on loans work, even mortgages, what it looks like to budget for, fun, what it looks like to give, what it looks like to save, and plus the bills that you are required to pay. Like if my kid came to me and said, hey, I don't have enough money to pay my cell phone, I'd probably tell him, well, it might be shut off. I don't know what to tell you because that's what happens in life, right? I would much rather, it sounds cruel, but I would much rather them learn under my roof where it's pretty safe to make mistakes. It's not like their credit's going to get messed up, and there's a bit of a safety net there too. We can help them if there's a dire situation, but I always want to challenge them to see, what are they going to do? How are they going to face this problem? How are they going to face this dilemma? Are they going to cry for help and ask us for help? Or can they go out and problem solve this on their own? Well, we are 2 weeks away from Halloween. We are 6 weeks away from Thanksgiving, and officially the 10-week countdown to Christmas has begun. So kids are eyeballing those Halloween costumes, those holiday gifts, everything that they want, because the spending season is officially here. I don't know about you guys, but when I first became a dad almost 20 years ago, I felt really, really unequipped to teach my kids anything about money. And that's because I knew nothing about money. And the reason I knew nothing about money is because I wasn't raised with a whole lot of money, and I didn't have parents that taught me about money. And I think that that's a theme that has really infiltrated our generation. We have a lot of people out there that have a hard time with money and managing money. And quite frankly, the statistics don't lie. So gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome to the Dad Edge podcast. I'm Larry Hagner. I'm your host and founder of this podcast, this show and movement. And I just want to take a quick moment here and just say, hey, from my heart, thank you so much for being here. There's many options that you have with your time. You could literally be doing anything right now, but the fact that you're here listening to this podcast, it just shows that you're hungry, you're eager, you have a desire to be the dad, quite frankly, that you might not have had, or maybe you want to replicate the amazing experience you had with your dad. If you hear my dog barking in the background, that's because he is. So sorry about that, but this is a dad show, so there is no such thing as perfect silence in the background. But listen, so I do have some stats for you guys. Some of these stats are quite scary, so check this out. 69% of U.S. households have less than $1,000 in liquid savings. 57% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing or selling something. 37% of Americans have more credit card debt than they do retirement savings. 83% of U.S. households carry some kind of debt, and 46% of people in trouble with debt also have mental health problems as well. 79% of Americans say that at least one financial topic intimidates them, talking about it, thinking about it, or whatever. And then this final stat that I have for you is 1 in 3 Americans will delay a major life decision just because of money. So what does that tell us? That tells us that a lot of us out there don't really have money management skills. Well, I mean, we learn about polyellograms, and we learn about, science and all these different things in school, but, very rarely do we learn anything about financial literacy. I am happy to say, though, in my kids' high school, they started teaching personal finance, which I thought was awesome. I'm like sitting there thinking like, man, it's about time. But in this podcast today, I'm going to share with you guys just some things that I've learned from money experts over the years as it relates to teaching our kids. And I also want to give you a bit of a contrast, because I have a 17 and 19-year-old, and obviously my conversations with them are a bit different. I'm going to share some of the journey and some of the things I've taught them along the way. I'm also going to share some of the mistakes that I've made. And I'm also going to share with my 9 and 11-year-old. We just started giving my 9-year-old chores and allowance. And, we're doing the whole thing of save, spend, and give. And my 11-year-old as well. So here's the thing, we can't start this, I don't think, too early, even if it's just the tiny stuff, right? So I want to start with my little guys first, and then I want to share some of the journey that I've done with my bigger guys. So when it comes to budgeting, right, or when it comes to money, I honestly think that if you've come from a house where you grew up and you did not have a whole lot of money, and maybe you saw your parents struggle, right? And maybe because of that, you didn't have a lot. And now maybe you have a little bit of money. What we are tempted to do as dads and as parents is there's a temptation to overcomfort and overserve. And I did that for a long time. And I got to tell you, man, it is a huge mistake because some of the things that I missed out on, especially with my older ones, was literally leaning into, you need to go out and earn money. You need to go out and make money. We need to help you understand money, what it's all about. And I'm talking not only from just like, hey, here's $5 and we need to budget this because you're 10 years old, everything up to helping your kids invest, whatever that looks like for you, bringing them into quarterly financial reviews with your financial professional, things like that really, really move the needle. But let me start with the little guys first. I wanted to make this show today because my wife and I first got started with the concept of earning when my older ones were, I think, 5 and 7. So now they're obviously 17 and 19, but they'll even tell you, and maybe I'll bring Ethan in on this, but we used to make them earn and buy their own Halloween costumes. I mean, so let's face it, you go to Johnny Brock's, or you go to these stores, and man, these costumes are anywhere from $50 to $150 for a costume you're going to wear one day out of the year. And then they're probably going to be grown out of it the next year. So like, then what? So my wife and I, we had this idea a long time ago that we were going to give the kids a way to earn and work for their Halloween costumes. And we always started it in October. And what we did is we created a month chore chart, basically a checklist, and every day had a chore, and every day accounted for a certain dollar amount that they could use and to go buy their Halloween costumes. So what we would do is we would take them to a Halloween store the very first day that opened. Usually it was like the end of September. The kids would get really excited. They get really motivated. They see the costume that they want. They see the price on it. And they're like, oh, it's only $70. So they really don't understand what only $70 is, right? For some of us, that's like, it's like a few days of groceries, right? So it could be whatever. But my kids didn't fully understand what the value of money really meant. So my wife and I decided, you know what? We're going to teach them and we're going to allow them to earn it. So what we did is we took a picture of the costume that they wanted. We stuck that picture on a chart, and then we made a chart every single day of the month, had a chore, and then they had to come in and do it. And I'll tell you, when you get kids motivated, that there's this carrot, right? Like they already know what it looks like. They already know what the Halloween costume looks like. They're so excited to wear it. They can't wait to get it. And what they do is they see that picture every single day. I got to be honest, it's hard to get kids to do chores, but when they know that they are working for something that they truly want and call it a goal, right? I mean, think of it in our situation. We might want to go buy something. Maybe it's a new car. Maybe it's a new pair of shoes. Maybe it's a gift for our wife. But what we want to do is we want to work for that thing, right? And we feel really, really good when we work really, really hard for it. We earn the money for it. We purchase it. And that's the goal. And this is right in line with raising kids with financial literacy. And what I'll tell you is that is probably one of the simplest ways for little kids to understand what it means to earn something. Also, it creates so much excitement. We saw so much excitement with these kids. They would come home from school and they would literally say, "What's my chore today?" Like I never, now granted, one thing we noticed was the month of October was easy for our kids to do chores. But the cool thing is that theme rang true. So when our kids would say, "Hey, I want this," we'd be like, "Well, you know what? You can have that. You can work for it. Here's what it takes to earn that much money. Here's what you need to do. And you can actually have that thing that you truly want, but you have to manage your money properly." Along the way too, here's the other caveat, right? Because the other conversations that you have is the kids in that 30-day process, of course, they saw shiny objects. They saw toys that they wanted or things that they wanted. And then they'd be like, "I want that." We'll be like, "Well, you know what? You can have that, but you're going to have to give up the Halloween costume, or you're going to have to do more for the Halloween costume." And of course, then we let them decide, do they want to do that? Because kids who are just simply given things, they don't necessarily value them nearly as much as they're going to earn them, right? So kids will take things very, very seriously, even if they're little kids, and they will make decisions based on what it is that they want and what it is they want to go after. So that's one way. Some of the chores that we gave our little guys were things that were simple: emptying the dishwasher, wipe off the table, bring the dishes, to the sink after dinner. Even little kids like that. I mean, they can start doing dishes. Obviously, you don't want them like handling butcher knives or anything like that, but they can put dishes in the sink. They can put plates and bowls and forks and all that good stuff in the sink. They can do that stuff. They can also clean their bathrooms. Believe it or not, a 7-year-old can actually push a broom and push a vacuum, and they can do all that stuff. It's amazing how capable that they actually are. So that's one way. And I know this season, there's only a couple weeks left. Maybe you've grabbed this idea and maybe you want to have your kids pitch in on the Halloween costume. But I encourage you, don't just take this into Halloween, right? Take this into other areas where a kid really might want like a new pair of shoes, or maybe they want that brand new Jordan tank top or whatever to wear to school. And quite frankly, we don't want to pay, we don't want to we don't want to pay name brand prices for things like that. It's not a problem to have your kids help. In fact, what they will actually do, what we've noticed, is they will actually value these things more. They actually will take better care of the things that they pay for. And we like to use the word in our family, earn. I got that from another podcast guest who is a money expert, is any time that we're talking money with kids, we want to use the word earn instead of make. Earn, right? Because the word earn has a different ring to it than just simply make or get money. So they understand earn. So that's the little guys. With little guys also, it's always great just to help them divide up their money. So like, for instance, we started out with $5 a week, okay? $1 would go into savings, $1 would go into giving, and their $3, that was for them, okay? Now, granted, this is like 10 years ago, 13 years ago, so maybe $5 won't get you a whole lot anymore, but you get what I'm saying. 20% will go into savings, 20% or 10% can go into give, and then you can keep the rest to spend. So having your kids manage money in that way, knowing that, hey, you have to save because, man, these stats don't lie. They're absolutely terrifying. The fact that almost 60% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency fund. Think of it. We don't want our kids in that position. If we get them in the habit of saving early, it makes their life, our lives, their families' lives so much better. So that's the little guys. The big guys. It was right around 12 years old. My 17-year-old was 5 years ago, and my older son was 14. I wanted to dive deeper into this. So what I started doing was I started bringing my kids to my quarterly financial reviews with my financial advisor. And I just wanted them to sit in, listen, ask questions, all those different things. And then we also set up custodial accounts for them. So they have now their own savings that they invest in the market, all that good stuff. And they're required to put in a certain amount every single month. And they've done this for, my gosh, it's been 4 or 5 years now. And they've done it religiously every single month. But the cool thing, this is one thing that really, really shocked me. I have a tendency, I don't know about the rest of you guys, one of the things I'm trying to work on, I always underestimate my kids. They're not going to understand that. They're not going to like it. They're not going to dive into it. They're going to think it's terrible. They're going to think it's that. I was pleasantly surprised that my 2 older boys were so intrigued to go to my quarterly meetings with my financial advisor. I was shocked at some of the questions that they had. My financial advisor was also awesome because he really did a good job of breaking down things simply. He was able to explain what mortgage interest is all about and how that plays out. And I couldn't even, my 11-year-old or my 12-year-old at the time, he actually asked, what is mortgage interest? Because he must have heard me and Jessica talking about it. And we were blown away. We're like, holy cow, I didn't even know he knew that term. So we explained it to him and he understood it. We were also able to break down what compound interest is all about. And we were able to give the boys just a really good snapshot of if they start saving now, if they start saving early, what that could look like over time with compound interest. And I mean, they know the formulas, they understand it. It took a while. I'm not going to lie. It took a couple of different meetings, but they finally got it. and they got really, really excited about starting to save money. They also got pretty, I would say, judicious about how they spent their money. One of the things that I helped them learn money on was EveryDollar. I have no financial interest in EveryDollar. That's Dave Ramsey's program, but we use that budgeting software, and I actually opened that up for my kids too in their checking account. That way, they know how much money is coming in, what they're planning to spend on food and dates with their girlfriends, and if they need clothes and if they need shoes. And yes, they pay for their cell phones. They pay for their car insurance. They pay for their gas. If they come for me for money, my first question is, how can you go out and earn it more? My 17-year-old just, he's in the heat of football right now, and he wanted to earn a little bit more money. So he became a dog walker. This 200-pound 17-year-old who is the starting center for his football team is walking dogs. But I got to tell you, he has made a few $100s just by walking dogs. And he was just like, I'm sure people want their dogs walked. I'd like to get some steps in. I want to be outside. I like dogs. I think I can make some money doing that. He created a flyer for a 15-minute walk, a 30-minute walk, and a 45-minute walk. And I was like, man, I don't really know if this is going to work, but I didn't want to rain on his parade. But dude, he locked down 6 customers in the first week. I was like, holy crap. All he did was leverage our neighborhood Facebook page and spread the word over social media. And he locked in 6 clients in 1 week. I could not believe it. And I challenged him because I think he asked me for money for something. I think he wanted to take his girlfriend out or something like that. And I looked at him, I said, the last time I saw, I think you were wanting to start a business. So how can you go out and earn money? And that's what he started to do. He started to walk dogs. I mean, hey, whatever it takes, right? And plus, it's a great way to get exercise as well. But I honestly think that having these conversations early on is so important. We are very open with our kids as far as like the money that comes in, the money that goes out, how much groceries cost, how much a house costs, what it costs for a car, paying back college loans, all these different things. And the biggest thing that we want to give our kids is preparation and the right mindset. And in my opinion, man, we can't start this too early. And to be honest, I sucked at this. I sucked at this really, really badly for a long time. It wasn't until probably 7 years ago, I was like, I really need to get serious with this. I really need to teach these kids better. Granted, yes, the Halloween costumes and there's chores, there's like little kid stuff, but what would it look like to step up my game to really teach these kids about investing, about how the market works, compound interest works, how interest on loans work, even mortgages, what it looks like to budget for, fun, what it looks like to give, what it looks like to save, and plus the bills that you are required to pay. Like if my kid came to me and said, hey, I don't have enough money to pay my cell phone, I'd probably tell him, well, it might be shut off. I don't know what to tell you because that's what happens in life, right? I would much rather, it sounds cruel, but I would much rather them learn under my roof where it's pretty safe to make mistakes. It's not like their credit's going to get messed up, and there's a bit of a safety net there too. We can help them if there's a dire situation, but I always want to challenge them to see, what are they going to do? How are they going to face this problem? How are they going to face this dilemma? Are they going to cry for help and ask us for help? Or can they go out and problem solve this on their own? And I got to tell you, it's been awesome. If you guys want, what I would highly encourage you to do, and like I said, I have no financial interest in this whatsoever, go check out EveryDollar with Dave Ramsey. You can actually open up a couple different accounts. You can open up even an account for your kids' checking account. That way you can teach them how to budget. It's awesome. You can have great conversations about money that way, about saving, about budgeting. I've shared these statistics with my kids. It freaks them out about how bad money management is out there. And I got to tell you, man, we don't want to leave this to chance, right? I mean, I can't imagine. I'm actually scared. I'm nervous that my kids in my 30s and I'm watching them raise their family and they are just strapped and they have no idea what to do. They have no idea how to manage money. It's a terrifying idea if you really, really think about it. But we have that opportunity. And to be honest, we don't have to be experts. I'm no expert. I know a lot of us aren't experts, but we can start to have conversations. And in fact, I think it's even better if we're not experts because we can make things just a bit simple for them. One other thing too, guys, before we head out of here today, I just created a brand new free resource for you guys. I've been working on this for a little bit. And what I've learned over time is men want to have better conversations with their kids. But we really don't. Sometimes we just don't know how to do that. We ask, how was your day, right? Kids gives us one word answers. We don't really know what to go from there. But I've created a resource for you guys. It's completely free. It's called Questions for the Car. It's a PDF, and it's got 25 questions for certain age ranges. So it's got 25 questions for kids 5 to 8. So if you got a 5 to 8-year-old, I've got questions for you that you can ask them in the car. And they're a lot of fun. I went through all these questions with my kids. We had a lot of fun with them. I had a few other clients use them with their kids. They loved it. But if you have kids from 9 to 12, those preteens, that's a little bit tougher, right, to get conversation with them. I've got 25 questions in that PDF for you as well. And then those tricky teens, it's like, oh my gosh, if I could just get through to my teen, if I could just figure that one out, I've got that for you too. 25 questions for your teenager that will help you spark conversation and connection. Remember, an interested dad is the most interesting dad on the block. That is right. An interested dad is the most interesting dad on the block. So, like I said, this is totally free. There's no strings attached. It's just something that I wanted to create because I saw a need. If you guys go to thedadedge.com/1389 for this show, again, thedadedge.com/1389 for this show, I will have a link in there for the show notes for this brand new free resource. Print it out, have some fun with it, have some laughs, have some connection. That's what it's all about. Gentlemen, from my heart to yours, thank you again so much for taking time to listen to this podcast, to support the podcast, all those 5-star reviews on iTunes and Spotify. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Go out, live legendary. Take care.